All righty, I guess we got to keep moving with this thing. There was a Smackdown episode this past week on Friday night, July 15th, and there was a couple of teachable moments in this and a couple of things that had some element of entertainment, but for the most part, I mean, SmackDown, I guess, is a better show than Raw because SmackDown's 2 hours and Raw is 3 hours. Raw is like watching cheese mold. SmackDown, at least you know, regardless of what you get, it's going to be over quick, right? So, or quicker. But I told you, I said, there's going to be one thing that I'm pretty sure you probably wouldn't watch that I wanted you to watch because it could be a learning moment for some of the kids. And hopefully you watched that match. Did you?
If you're referring to Natty Neidhart and Liv Morgan, I did watch it, yes.
Oh, boy, howdy. All right, we ain't quite there yet. Let's start out at the beginning. Pat McAfee. And I guess this is where we're at in the wrestling business now, that an athlete from another sport who just happens to be a longtime fan of wrestling is actually now one of the best personalities in wrestling because there aren't very many personalities in wrestling, and Pat McAfee has one. He's a character, like Mama Cornette used to say. It's not like he's playing a character. He is a character. And AKA, he's a real pill. He's a pill, that boy. He opens up with, Orlando, it's an honor to be inside of you tonight. And I mean, that's where we're at. We're looking forward now to the guys that do guest spots in wrestling because they're better at it than the people who are actually pros. Happy Corbin beat up McAfee last week, and now they're going to fight at SummerSlam. And again, McAfee, he's a wrestling fan with a personality. He's got a line of bullshit. He knows how to sell shit verbally. And he's more natural at this than the guys on the roster. And I did not know that he and Corbin were football roommates, so that adds something to after this promo that he did. I wrote, I may actually want to see Happy Corbin. And then suddenly Happy Corbin showed up on screen and proved me still wrong. He looks horrible. He looks like a tall, bald drywall installer.
Which McAfee pretty much said.
Yeah, and it's observable truth. And Corbin does the promo and says the words, but who cares? And there's not a lot of, he doesn't have much of a personality. And the reason why he wasn't there live in person is because he said he had what he thought might be monkeypox, but then it wasn't. He's got a rash on his arm. I don't know what the fuck was going on there. I wouldn't want to be around him either.
Ask for a settlement.
Yeah, and then McAfee said he faked monkeypox because he's scared to be there. Right? And then McAfee introduced Liv Morgan. And we went quickly from the sublime to the ridiculous. But before we talk about this match, just again, Pat McAfee. He's only had, 2 matches? He's a fan who gets it better than the guys get it. What do you think?
I wish he was a wrestler more than a commentator. I get his strength as a commentator to some, but he's such a personality and he's good in the ring. Why isn't he wrestling full-time or, for what they have as full-time?
Well, anyway, so we'll look forward to seeing McAfee pop up at SummerSlam. But then the match that we've all been waiting for. So there was controversy on the internet last week. Liv Morgan and Natalya had a match at a house show somewhere. And the 15-second clip was going around. Liv Morgan hits her finish and pins Natalya. Natalya immediately rolls up on her knees and points her finger at Liv. And I said, I can hear the words, "That's the last fucking job I'm going to do for you," coming out of her mouth from the appearance of the body language. Apparently it wasn't the last job she'd do for Liv Morgan. She did another one here, but there was consternation on the internet. Well, is this unprofessional? And I told a story about, when I've seen guys the same thing. And somebody even tweeted a link to a match in Houston with Buddy Landel and Sonny King. And I retweeted that out and said, you can tell that Buddy wanted to have this match about like he wanted to be circumcised with a bottle cap. And, you know, that sometimes things just don't work, right? But I figured, okay, I'm going to watch this match and see if they've got their problems smoothed out or if there's anything I could see that might lend some kind of understanding to what was going on between these two. And this match pretty much told me everything I needed to know. Poor fucking Natty. If she's been having to do on-the-job training with this girl like this in every match they've had, I can understand why one would lose one's patience. What'd you think of the match?
Well, I went into it with a little bit of a jaded view just from the glee you had when you told me to watch it. It was all right, but it's two people working two different ways completely. One is trying to work a match, one's a wrestler, and the other one has little movements that she's memorized that she does at different times. Sometimes they hit, sometimes I don't know what she was even trying to do at one point.
Yes. Here's the thing. Natty Neidhart grew up around the wrestling business. She's got it in her blood. She's experienced. And I was looking at both of not only the way they worked at each other, but what just both of them individually did. From the opening, Natty slapped her. And it was a perfect working slap. She didn't take any liberties. Natty's doing, she moves her weight around because she's not a frail girl. She's got some weight to her, but she's an athlete. She moves it around smoothly, easily, nip ups, up and overs. And she's got her basics down. Liv Morgan, she was doing weak shoot-offs. This girl is 40 pounds heavier than she is, and she'll just, out of a headlock, she'll just fling her head in a direction, expecting Natty to run 20 feet that way. There was, at one point, she got kind of, Liv did semi-lost on a drop kick spot, which ended up stiff.
Yeah.
She's laying those drop kicks in. Liv Morgan tried to roll up and landed on her head, then got the second roll up. When Natty kicked out, Liv rushed a drop kick while Natty was still getting up, and not only was she still on her knees, but she wasn't up on her knees and ready to take a shot in the chest, leaning backwards so she could brace herself. She was on her knees, still getting up, and Liv rushed the drop kick and kicked her right in the tits and the gut, and Natty had to fall back and sell her face. And then Natty tried to put Liv Morgan in a sharpshooter on the apron, and Liv Morgan rushed a weak kickoff, and Natty had to kind of half stagger back into the post herself. And then she did a perfect boomerang into the post to Liv Morgan. But then just all of this is like, with the sharpshooter thing and the kickoff, it reminds me of a bobble that you see a lot of times when guys are trying to kick off out of the figure four. And it depends. Sometimes guys will do a figure four and the object is to try to spin into it as quickly and as smoothly as possible, right? And be impressive that you got it that fast. And then sometimes there's a reason you don't want to spin that fast. You want to pause a little bit. If let's say you can envision Flair with his opponent laying on his back, and Flair's got the guy's right ankle in his left hand, and he's saying, "Now we go to school," right? So obviously, when you've got the guy's right leg in your hand, you take your right leg and you step over it, and you're spinning to your left to go into the figure four. When you go all the way around, you bend the right leg behind your knee. You throw your right leg over the top of that foot, and you sit down on it, you got your figure four. But sometimes, and especially the old-timers would do this, and Flair would do it a lot, when he would step over the leg with his right leg, he would plant his right foot and pause for a second, and then take the guy's leg and wrench it sideways and continue his spin to the left to put the figure four on. Not only did that make it look more violent with the movement he was making, twisting the guy's leg, but it establishes that he pauses. when he steps his right foot over. Because that's the point where if you're going to get kicked off out of the figure four, you get kicked off there. So sometimes you'll see guys that knew what they were doing, they'll spin into the figure four real smoothly and quickly. If later on in the match, they're going to be countered into a small package, then there shouldn't be a pause. It should be quick, and the opponent getting the figure four applied to him took advantage of the guy's momentum to bring him on over in the small package. But if later on in the match you're going to try a figure four where the guy's going to put his foot on your ass and kick you off into the turnbuckle, you step over the leg and put the foot down and pause for a second and wrench the leg so everybody has in their mind when it gets foiled later that you do that pause naturally. You see the difference?
Yeah.
So, to get back to Liv, she's not waiting for any of these things. She's just doing it whether the person is set for it or not. And that's timing, and that's experience, and that's getting a flow to your work that a lot of these younger people that don't have the repetitions, and I haven't been in the ring with a lot of experienced people, are not doing. But again, Liv Morgan is 40 pounds lighter, and she's working even. There's no extra oomph in her shoot-offs. She's rushing things. And her comeback in this match was 7 windmill wild punches that Natty just covered up for and couldn't sell because they were coming everywhere and most of them weren't landing. And then 3 straight rapid-fire kicks before Natty could bump because she's got to do the I'm going to kick you here, kick you there, kick you the other place thing. And then as Natty bumps into the ropes and she's hanging there on the ropes like for a position for a 619, here comes Liv Morgan again with that double-footed drop kick to the small of her back as she was leaning face first against the ropes. And then she pulls Natty out of the corner into an awkward small package variation because she didn't know how to do the small package and pulled her down on her head for a shoot. Then they did a reverse shoot-off spot where Liv Morgan pirouetted going into the ropes because she wasn't sure if she was supposed to be running at that point and tried to hit some kind of move and missed it so bad that the announcers went, oh, because they didn't even know what it was. And then she tried to kick Natty off from that, and Natty had to stand up and get her feet under her and run in place. And then they did a spot where Natty put Liv Morgan up on the top turnbuckle and went for a superplex, and they're struggling for the position, right? Like they were working. But then it looked like they changed their minds midway because Natty had already put Liv's legs on the outside of the buckle, and then they fiddle-fucked around for a minute, and then she turned around and put her legs back inside the buckle and had her drop down underneath her and pull her off the fucking turnbuckle. And finally, Natty hit a great power bomb, got an ankle lock. Liv Morgan rolled through. Natty went to the buckle. Liv hit some kind of move and hit her finish off the ropes and pinned Natty 1, 2, 3. And I can fully see it being a struggle working with Liv Morgan now that I've paid attention.
They certainly tried to play off the video that got out there. There was a lot of pointing earlier in the match.
The pointing was the best part because Liv Morgan can point. She just can't have any contact.
Natty does the pointing. I was surprised they did apron spots. What, was that necessary here in this match?
I'm just, so for all the people who were like, oh, you're giving Liv Morgan a bad break here. You know, no, Natty was unprofessional. No. If anybody that knows what they're fucking doing had to work with somebody that was working like Liv Morgan was working like I saw in this match, after a week or two, they'd get fed up too, is all I can tell you. I'm sorry if that hurts anybody's feelings, but what do you want me to do, lie? Anyway, did you love our boy Austin Theory and Paul Heyman trying to sell him the used car? And what they're trying to do is because I think they have recognized that by necessity for a main event for SummerSlam, they have to go back to Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar. And for a lot of their most devoted fans, they're going to be the ones saying, well, what the fuck? Same thing, right? So they've interjected Theory into it with the theory that he's going to cash in his briefcase, and either Roman Reigns is going to kick shit out of Brock Lesnar so bad, or Brock Lesnar is going to kick shit out of Roman Reigns so bad that they'll be vulnerable, and then Theory can come and cash in, which, it's a way to put some kind of intrigue or question into the finish of the match, as far as it doesn't have to be either guy coming out as the champion after the show. So I see what they're doing there, and it's good to have Theory in the main event mix with guys like this. And it's also good that he didn't fall for Paul's sales pitch, because they're not booking him to be an idiot. The question is whether it does him good for even people to have the idea that he just wants to capitalize on a wounded opponent because he can't do it on his own. Is that the way to get a guy over to that level? But since he's a heel, there's some wiggle room there. But the point is, especially in the first altercation here with Paul comes out and does a brilliant job of trying to sell Theory on the reasons why he shouldn't cash in with Roman Reigns, because we can't just give away something like this on the spur of the moment with no notice. Leave everything to me. I can get you a major championship match and a main event pay-per-view with all the money and the attention and the publicity. And Paul builds that whole thing up, and then Theory listens to him and then says, well, maybe I'll need us. And then, Paul says, let me handle everything. And then Theory says, maybe I'll need a special counsel after I beat Roman Reigns and hire you. And so they're not making him look stupid, at least. And the Theory intervention or involvement is kind of like a red herring or a MacGuffin to add an extra twist to the title rematch. But I'm just glad at least he's not saying, oh, okay, Paul, anything you say, and look like a dipshit like they make everybody else look like. But this was the first segment where Paul tried to get Theory to do what he wanted, and he wouldn't. So then later on, let's go ahead and bring the two parts together. Heyman interrupts Mosh Pit Jones, who now I guess we're going to have to call him Moss, because I've refused to call anybody Madcap, but he stopped dressing like an idiot, and he's a great-looking athlete, and he might actually have a future away from Happy Corbin, so we're not going to call him Mosh Pit. But Heyman goes to Moss and does the exact same promo, word for word almost, but altered slightly to fit the picture here, to instigate Moss to take Theory out in their match tonight so that he can get a title match with Roman Reigns on a big pay-per-view with the money and the publicity and the exposure and etc. And Moss blows him off too. So Paul was great in this thing, but that's the gist of what they're doing with Theory's involvement. What did you think of these interactions?
It was all right. But again, I go back to what I said before. The show-long booking of Theory, and this ties into that, was, to me, kind of puzzling.
In what way?
He came out of it looking really weak, I thought. I thought the whole show kind of built to him looking like a weakling and leaving.
I don't know. Hold on here. Wait a minute. Did I forget something? Because, well, here's the thing. Theory disappears at the end, but everybody disappears at the end.
Kind of got his ass.
Everybody disappeared.
Well, he got his ass kicked and he got thrown over the rail. That's how he disappeared.
Oh, that's right. Moss came back and beat him. Okay. Yeah, you're right. I was looking ahead to my notes. I've slept since then. Yeah, he ended up looking like an idiot. Well, I was reading my contemporaneous notes. All right, skipping ahead. Did you like the part where Walter Gunther is now browbeating Ludwig for losing and screaming at him in German, and he punishes him with a chop? He takes his coat off and chops him to punish him. Anything that makes Walter look bad. Badass, I mean, like bad. What about old Lacey Evans?
Yeah, what
Can
was
you
this?
explain this one to me?
No, what was this? We had just seen her on TV for a few weeks. You started reviewing it, then I got to see it, where she was doing this very inspirational, I hate to use the word gimmick, she was talking about her real life, apparently, the tough road to getting to where she is in life. And they had her on TV, and they were trying to get the fans to cheer her, and apparently we missed a lot last week.
Well, I remember for a few weeks now that somebody's been saying the rumors they're going to switch her heel, and I'm like, wait, what are you talking about? She had an abused childhood. She was a high school wrestler and a Marine with honors that overcame this horrible upbringing, and she's going to be a heel? And I'm like, what in the French fried titty fuck is going on here? And now she's gone so far because all these things she said was true. And she was a, Marine with honors and all those things. But now, because the fans are not respecting her enough and not giving her standing ovations, now she's disgusted with them. They're not giving her the respect she deserves because she's an American hero and the fans can go to hell. And and she blows off her match with Aaliyah because they're not giving her the proper respect. She said, I overcame obstacles that would crush the average American. So again, she's a good heel. She's got heel attitude. She's doing the promo. She's not bad at that. She's certainly not as amateurish as most of the girls are at speaking in any company these days. But the build got to here. The fans started whatting her because when she was saying all those positive, true, sad things, you couldn't what that because it was, poor form. It would have been rude. But now she's being a heel, and now they're like, well, what the fuck? We went through all this shit just to hear her switch heel. Now they're whatting her to death because she was forcing it and trying really hard and told the fans to go to hell again. But I'm amazed. It's they spent weeks and weeks having this girl tell all these horrible true things about her upbringing and her background and establish her as a patriot and a service member and all this other stuff, and then decide, and now the next obvious logical step is for her to hate everyone who's not giving her the respect she deserves and switch all that heel. I don't get it. I assume you didn't get much of it either.
I don't know what to think of it, no.
Anyway, then and Drew McIntyre did something with somebody. And then Austin Theory shows up again against the formerly known as Mosh Pit. And like I said, Moss is looking and dressing like a real person now, and what a fucking physique, and he looks like he knows what he's doing. Can they not lose his first name? We lost Austin. Can we not lose Madcap? Just Moss.
There's lots of moss in WWE.
Boy, it grows on every side, not just the fucking north side of things. Where's that mold? I forget. Anyway, so old Moss is Steiner strong. He can move people around. And both these guys looked great. They didn't rush. They have nice timing and basics. Their shit looks good. They had a nice match. And at the end, Moss made a comeback. It was a little wobbly, but a lot of fire. And the one thing, did you see the spine buster? That scared the shit out of me. Moss either shot him off or caught Theory coming off the ropes and boosted him up over his left shoulder and then turned left for the spine buster. I have never seen that before, and it scared the shit out of me. And I guess, this guy, Moss is strong enough. If he's comfortable with it, then I guess okay, but that could be trouble. I was astonished. And I wonder, has anybody mentioned that? Well, I guess if they train with him, they've seen him do it before in training and know that he can. But
he came out of NXT.
Well, but I mean, you know, Hulk Hogan used to do a vertical suplex and he'd hook the guy's head with his right arm, which was completely bizarre and unheard of, but it was comfortable for him. So if they think it's not going to be a problem, but I wouldn't want to fucking take it, that would be disorienting and somewhat, like I said, bizarre. Anyway, but did you notice during this match, during most of the matches, the crowd is dead. Even the fake crowd, even the fake audio is just dead. Nobody cares because they've made the matches unimportant.
You know, that is one thing you did not say during the AEW review. It was true there, too. Their crowd, what was it, Savannah, Georgia? That crowd was dead also.
Well, you know, normally the AEW fans, for what they're there for, they like that kind of shit. But remember, I said Savannah's a hard town. I said, good luck to them drawing. I guess they drew 4,000 or 5,000 people, but Savannah's never been the hotbed of wrestling. Anyway, back to Theory and Moss. So they go to the floor, and Theory hits Moss with the case and gets disqualified. And that's another reason why people don't care anything about the matches, because it just happens like that often. And so then Theory beats up Moss with the case 2 or 3 times, hits him, and just walks to the entrance and gets the microphone and cuts promo about how he'll soon be the WWE champion. But then out comes Sami Zayn and takes issue with him disrespecting Roman Reigns and the bloodline. And I'm like, who are the heels here?
Yeah, this got so weird. And by the way, the way it ends, if you want to call that an ending, is even weirder because it's like, oh, we're just going to keep moving here. This whole thing was really, really weird after the match.
Well, can't stop and grieve forever, but so Zayn, the heel, is now mad at Theory, the heel, because Theory, the heel, is disrespecting the bloodline who are heels. And at the same time, Theory beat up Moss with the briefcase, then walked 100 yards away, got the microphone and started talking, and you never saw Moss. So Moss let a guy beat him up and walk away 100 yards away, still in sight, and you can still hear him, and never did a goddamn thing about it until Sami Zayn brought out the Usos, which scared Theory back to ringside, so that then Moss, who'd been sitting there with his dick in his hand, apparently, could jump on him and beat him up now that he was gracious enough to come back to Moss. Moss got the shit kicked out of him, but it didn't make him mad enough to go after the guy that did it. But when the guy comes right back next to him, then he'll fight him. So now Moss beat Theory up, and you were right, I forgot about that at the end. And the Usos, who were brought out by Sami Zayn because Theory was disrespecting Roman Reigns, get in the match and don't care that he disrespected Roman Reigns now because Moss is beating him up, so they just got in the ring.
Yeah, they just get in the ring and like nothing is going on. They just ding, 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 the next match, here it is. They just go right into the match.
And that, by the way, we've never seen anything like this before. One of the Usos against one of the Street Profits. Holy mackerel, how in the world did they come up with that revolutionary bit of booking? We've never seen these people interact with each other before. So they had a match out of that, and as a result of that, at the tag team match at the pay-per-view playa, the special referee is going to be, according to Adam Pearce, who's found the perfect referee, Jeff Jarrett. I like Jeff. Jeff's a friend of mine, fan of Jeff's work and his talents as a promotional person. Have you ever, when you were looking through the mental Rolodex you keep, Brian, in your mind, have you ever thought of Jeff Jarrett and said, well, here's a perfect special referee? For what fucking purpose? I'm not saying they shouldn't bring back for the pay-per-view, they shouldn't bring back Hall of Famers or legends or whatever. But he wasn't even there on the show. They just showed a package that they already had done. Nothing happened that would make Jeff Jarrett the perfect referee for this match. He's just refereeing.
Yeah, and according to that video package, nothing happened after 2001 either.
Well, I saw a couple of clips in there hidden, but I didn't get it. I didn't get the idea of the referee.
I mean, I don't think it's the craziest thing. If they want to do a special guest referee thing, and you're going based on A, it being in Nashville, and 2, which of the agents will actually pop the audience, yeah, I could see it working. I mean, no one gives a shit about this feud. Why not? Why not?
All right. I was going to suggest other ways that Jeff may have interjected himself somehow, but why?
It was weird though. Adam Pearce like, I'm a special referee, and here he is, and they just play like a video for minutes. Just go on and on and on.
It's like, I got the perfect special referee for you. Fucking Tom Petty and all the Heartbreakers.